Hi everyone, welcome to the week one discussion. I hope you're having a great first week getting through the material. I know it's been a little bit tough, but hopefully the discussion forums have been helpful in terms of solving your problems and helping you to move forward. As you have more questions, feel free to post and hopefully myself or someone else will be able to solve your problem for you. In the future, if you have specific questions, feel free to post in the Q&A thread and we'll release one each week about questions that you have. So I can go through and I'll help answer them. Today, I'm going to go through and I've kind of compiled a list of things that I've seen that I think would be really helpful for people as they move through week one material. First, I'd like to give a shout out to Core for his awesome discussion on posting screenshots. If you have a chance, it's entitled How to Paste a Screenshot, and it's really helpful. And as you have questions, it's much easier for people to help you debug when they're able to see your code and they can easily see, oh, this is the issue that you're having with your code. So it's definitely worth checking out. One other thing that I wanted to bring up was the simulator size. So there's actually a discussion post about this, but if you happen to miss it or you weren't sure how to make it work, we can make our simulator smaller. So I can go ahead and run my application here and my simulator will pop up. If I go into Window and go down to Scale, I can change the size. I can also use Command 1, 2, or 3 to change the size. So I like 75% because it fits on my screen pretty nicely. The next thing I want to talk about are breakpoints. So we're not going to get heavily into debugging with breakpoints right now, but I at least want you to know what they are, as well as how to get rid of them in case you accidentally add them to your project, because if you have a breakpoint, it'll halt your code and your project won't seem to work. So if I go to my gutter here, I can go ahead and click and I can add these blue what are called breakpoints. To remove a breakpoint, I can two-finger click and delete the breakpoint, or I can simply hold down on my breakpoint and drag it into my file and delete it that way. So we're going to want to make sure that we don't have our breakpoints inside of our application when we run it because we don't want our code to halt. And that's what a breakpoint does. It halts our code where we have our breakpoints. So if I go ahead and run my application right now, we'll be able to see that it actually will pause my code here and it'll get this thread 1 breakpoint symbol come up. So it's saying it's breaking my thread here. And I could actually even press the fast forward button down here, or the play button, excuse me, and now it'll actually go through my breakpoint. So when I'm debugging, I could have multiple breakpoints, and breakpoints allow us to inspect the objects in memory. So let me go ahead and run my application one more time. Let's take a look at our debug area, and we see that we only currently have one object in memory, and that's self. And we see that self is equal to an instance of CC view controller, and that makes sense because I'm in the view controller class, so I have access to myself. I exist right now. So let me go ahead and remove this breakpoint. And the next thing I want to talk about is outlet connections. And I've seen a few posts about issues with outlet connections. So I want to show you what's going on, what's causing this bug, and how to fix it. So I'm going to go back to my folder and we're going to go over to the storyboard. And we can drag any objects we want in. It often happens with buttons or labels. So let's go ahead and do this with a label. I can drag my label in. And let's hook this up to my project. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and press on ccviewcontroller.h. And I'm going to go ahead and drag my label in. So let's say I use name label. But let's say I misspelled it and I added 2 E's in name label and I press connect. And as I'm looking at this, I decide that, oh, okay, there's a mistake here. So let me go ahead and create a new connection. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this property. And I'm going to click on label again and drag this in again one more time. And now I'm going to be able to write name label correctly. So that's great. Now I have the right name for my property, I think. So let me go ahead and run my application again. And we're going to get a crash in just a second. And we'll discuss what this crash is all about. So we see that my application now crashes. And if I open up my debug area and I scroll up, there's quite a bit of things in here. But what we care about is at the top here, it says, this class is not key value coding compliant for the key name label with 2 E's. Well, where did that come up? That was I thought we removed that when we deleted our property. Well, what's going on here is when we create an outlet connection, there's actually two macros that are occurring, or two things that are kind of automatically happening for us. So it's first creating this property, which we can visually see pretty easily. But what it's also doing in our storyboard is it's creating a connection for our view controller. So let's go back to our folder navigator, and let's open up our storyboard. And let's select view controller from our scene. And we're going to go to the far right tab over here. We haven't accessed this before, but this is the connections tab. And if I look down here, I see that, oh, my old connection, name with two E's label, still exists here. And I also have my current name label. So if I press the little X here on name with two E's label, and I rerun my application, we'll see that now my application will properly work and I'll be able to see my label on my view. The final thing I want to show you guys is how to create a label with multiple lines. So let's go back to our storyboard. I'm going to go ahead and close out this bottom area here. We'll go back to single view. And I'm going to go ahead and type in a whole bunch of code here so we can get a multi-line text. And now that I've typed a ton of gibberish in, we see that this is way too small. So if I go ahead and expand my label here, we see that there's still not enough space for it. So let me go ahead, I'm going to go to my attributes inspector, and I'm going to go ahead and change my lines to 0. And now when I shrink my label, so I'm going to go ahead and my label automatically expanded and got huge, we see that it automatically will put text onto the next line based on how much text I have, assuming I have enough space in my label to contain it all. So by setting your label's line to 0, it makes it way more dynamic in terms of being able to put information on your screen. In closing, I just want to say I've seen a lot of great progress on the discussion forums, so I hope you guys keep the great questions coming, and I hope everyone's excited about week 2. I know I am.